It started with nothing. Just a regular Tuesday, the kind where you microwave last night's leftovers, argue with the thermostat, and pretend you're still young enough to function without 8 hours of sleep. I was sauteing shrimp in the kitchen, something quick. Lyanna, my wife, liked shrimp pasta, said it reminded her of our honeymoon in Monterey. That was over a decade ago. She was due home any minute, and I figured I'd get dinner going. Keep the peace. She walked in right on cue, coat half off, heels in one hand, Bluetooth earbuds still in. She leaned in, kissed me on the cheek, smiled like she meant it, then disappeared upstairs with a vague, "Just need to change, be right down." Totally normal, except it wasn't. Lately, Lyanna had been different. Not in a dramatic soap opera kind of way. Subtle things. Her laugh didn't linger. Her texts were shorter. She started saying things like, "I'm just tired," or "Work's crazy this week." And it was believable. She ran marketing for a tech firm that thought 80-hour weeks were a badge of honor. But I've known her for 15 years, married for 11. You don't live with someone that long without learning their rhythms. And hers were off. I noticed her phone habits first. She used to leave it charging in the kitchen. Now it was always with her. Always. Like it had become another limb. She never put it face up anymore. Never let the screen light up unless she was already looking. Then there were the nights she worked late, or claimed to. Before, she'd come home venting about deadlines, dumb clients who stole her idea this time. Now, nothing. Just dinner was nice. Or I'm in a shower. And maybe I was imagining it. Maybe I was overthinking, reading into things that didn't matter. Maybe this was just a marriage hitting year 11. Not broken, just stretched. That's what I told myself, right up until I saw the message. It happened by accident. Honest. She left her phone on the counter while she ran upstairs to grab a sweater. She never leaves it, not even to pee. But that night, it sat there glowing, screen unlocked, like it wanted me to see. I didn't mean to look. But when it buzzed and I saw the preview, everything inside me froze. "Eric, can you come earlier? I've been thinking about you all day." No emoji, no explanation, just that. And something in me broke. My hands went cold. My brain started sprinting while my body stayed still. Eric. The name meant nothing, but the message that meant everything. Because no colleague texts your wife that, no client, no old friend. I picked up the phone. I shouldn't have. I know. I should have walked away, asked her straight out. But when someone punches a hole through your reality, you don't walk, you dig. So I scrolled. And what I saw wasn't just a message or two. It was a thread. Dozens of them. Late night messages, inside jokes, plans to meet up, mentions of a boutique hotel downtown, a lounge in Little Italy, even one about how they'd barely made it out of the elevator. I just stood there, staring at it, like the letters were in a foreign language, and my brain hadn't caught up yet. She was cheating. Lyanna, my wife, the woman I built a life with, the person I thought I knew better than anyone. I put the phone down, quietly, like it might explode. She came back into the kitchen seconds later, hair tied up, wearing that burgundy sweater I bought her 2 Christmases ago. She smiled, kissed my cheek again, and said, "I might have to work a little tonight. Don't wait up." I nodded, didn't say a word. She walked out the door like nothing had happened. And just like that, everything did. I didn't sleep that night. I lay there next to her, eyes wide open, listening to the soft rhythm of her breathing, like it was some kind of mockery. Every time she shifted, every time she sighed, I wanted to ask her, "Who the hell is Eric?" But I didn't. Instead, I waited for her to fall into that deep, slow kind of sleep where even the dog sneaking onto the bed wouldn't wake her. And when she finally did, I got up, went downstairs, and grabbed her phone from her bag, still unlocked, still buzzing with messages from him. Eric. I didn't need a last name. The texts were enough. He wasn't trying to be clever. No code words, no euphemisms, just direct, casual, like this was normal. "That bar you liked last time? 7:30? You looked amazing in that green dress. Bring it again? Missed you this weekend. Next time, no interruptions." And her replies? They weren't lukewarm. They weren't hesitant. They were eager. "I'll find a reason to step out early. Can't stop thinking about Friday. I wish I was with you right now." I sat there, alone in the dark, scrolling through a version of my wife I'd never met. A version who laughed at different jokes, flirted in ways she hadn't with me in years, and booked rooms under her maiden name. She was cheating, plain and simple, and not in some drunken one-night stand kind of way. This was planned, repeated, familiar. It was a second life, and I was the idiot cooking shrimp pasta while she picked out heels for her next rendezvous. I should have thrown the phone across the room. I should have woken her up and demanded answers. But I didn't, because I wanted to know more. That's the sick part. When your world cracks open like that, you don't patch it. You stare into the hole and dig deeper. I found a reservation confirmation, a calendar invite marked dinner, team sync, out of office. Cute. It wasn't dinner with the team. It was dinner with him. Same place they always met, a cocktail lounge downtown. Dim lights, craft drinks, that kind of place. I'd taken her there once. She said it was too loud. Guess it grew on her. She left that evening just like she always did. Kissed me goodbye. Light makeup, little black dress. Told me not to wait up, they'd be talking strategy, late meetings, big client. I stood in the doorway and watched her drive off. And I didn't say a word, because tonight, I wasn't just the husband anymore. I was the man she didn't know was watching. Her car disappeared down the street, and the silence in the house swallowed me. I stood there for a long time, not thinking, just stunned. You know that kind of shock where your body's still running on auto, but your brain's 2 miles behind? That was me. Eventually, I sat down at the kitchen table, turned on my laptop, and typed his name. Eric. I didn't even have a last name yet, just a first name, a phone number, and 100 sickening messages in my wife's chat thread. But it's 2025. You don't need much more than that. A reverse lookup gave me his full name in under 3 minutes. Eric Langford, 45. Senior partner at a boutique wealth management firm in La Jolla. Handles high net worth clients. You know the type: tailored suits, curated social feeds, plays squash on Wednesdays, and brags about waking up at 5:30 to meditate. There he was, right on LinkedIn. That smug professional headshot, perfect lighting, expensive watch, half visible, smile just humble enough to hide the ego. His bio read like a pitch deck. Helping families preserve legacy wealth with integrity. Cute. And there, in his photos, was the second bombshell. His wife, Amelia Langford. I clicked. She had that look elegant without trying. Early 40s, probably my age. Subtle makeup. The kind of woman who hosts fundraiser brunches and runs half marathons for fun. Her Instagram was public, full of vacation pics, cooking shots, wine tastings, and Eric was in most of them, holding her waist, smiling like a man who never did a damn thing wrong. It made my stomach turn. But there was something else in those pictures, something that stuck with me. She looked happy, like genuinely, not posed, not curated, just happy. I couldn't stop staring. Because while I'd been losing sleep, pacing around my kitchen, trying to figure out what went wrong, this guy was playing house with his wife one day and slipping into mine the next. I knew what I had to do. I couldn't confront him, not yet. And I wasn't going to scream at Lyanna or throw dishes or post cryptic nonsense online. I needed information. And more than that, I needed an ally. Someone else who'd been lied to. Someone who deserved to know. So I sent her a message. Hi, Amelia. You don't know me, but I think we need to talk. It's about your husband and mine. I didn't expect a reply. Who would? But less than an hour later, she answered. Is this some kind of joke? I typed back. I really wish it was. Do you have 10 minutes to meet? I'll explain everything. I'm not crazy. I just figured you deserved the truth. Another pause. Then, okay, tomorrow morning, Coral Tree Cafe, 9 a.m. Just like that, it was set. I stared at the screen, heart pounding, because now, this wasn't just about my marriage. Now, it was war. I got to Coral Tree Cafe 15 minutes early. Didn't even order anything. Just sat there, fingers drumming the edge of a paper napkin, watching the door like I was waiting to be sentenced. I'd never done anything like this, reaching out to someone's wife, dragging a stranger into something so raw. But after everything I'd read on Lyanna's phone, I couldn't just keep it to myself. She deserved to know, the same way I found out, cold, fast, undeniable. At exactly 9:03, Amelia Langford walked in, tall, poised, perfectly put together. Dark jeans, a blazer, no makeup, but still looked like she walked out of a fashion shoot. She scanned the room once, spotted me, and came over. Michael, I stood, nodded. Thanks for coming. She sat without smiling, her hands folded in front of her like she was bracing for impact. You said this was about my husband. I opened my phone, pulled up the messages, and turned the screen toward her. She read, and kept reading. And for a while, she didn't say a word. Just this slow, subtle shift in her posture, like something inside her was cracking, but she wasn't going to let it show. When she finally looked up, her eyes were glassy, but her voice was sharp. How long has this been going on? I shrugged. At least 2 months that I can see, possibly longer. There are hotel reservations, dinner bookings, calls late at night. It's not a fling. She nodded once. Not an agreement, more like confirmation, something that clicked into place. I had a feeling, she muttered. Little things. He started staying later at work, got oddly possessive of his phone. I found lipstick on his collar once, but he blamed dry cleaning, and I believed him. I exhaled. Same story, different house. For a while, we just sat in silence. Two strangers, united by betrayal. There was no drama, no shouting, just the quiet devastation of realizing your whole life had been running parallel to someone else's lies. Then she looked at me. Why did you reach out? I thought about that for a second. I didn't want to feel crazy, I said. And I figured you didn't deserve this either. She nodded slowly. Well, she said, at least now we know. So, what now? And that's when something shifted. She didn't look broken. She didn't cry or curl into herself. No, Amelia Langford straightened her shoulders, stared into her coffee, and said, we need to hit back. I blinked. You mean? Oh, I don't mean keying a car or yelling in public, she said, calm and razor sharp. I mean something that sticks, something they'll remember. That's when I realized. This wasn't a grieving wife. This was someone who had just declared war. They're meeting again Friday, I said. Same lounge downtown, same routine. She tilted her head. Then we'll be there. What, watch them? No, she said, cool as ever. We confront them. Together. Publicly. I hesitated. I'm not saying we make a scene, she continued, but let's give them a moment they can't erase. A memory burned so deep they'll taste it every time they lie again. I leaned back in my chair, studying her. I wasn't sure what to expect when I messaged you, I said, but I like your style. She cracked a faint smile. I'm not the sob in a bathrobe type, never was. I nodded. Then let's do it, I said. Let's give them exactly what they deserve. We sat there another 20 minutes, not just planning, coordinating, outfits, timing, what we'd say, how we'd appear, like general sketching out a battle plan. And by the time we left that cafe, we weren't just betrayed spouses anymore. We were partners. Friday night came fast. Too fast. By the time I pulled up outside the restaurant, my hands were gripping the steering wheel so tight I thought I might snap it in half. I wasn't nervous. Not exactly. I was something worse, calm and cold. Like my body knew a storm was coming and had already made peace with it. Amelia met me outside. She was dressed in black, sleek, sharp, deliberate. A dress that said she was here to reclaim her dignity and take someone's head while she was at it. I had thrown on a blazer and dark jeans. Not flashy. Just clean, presentable, steady. We walked in together. The place was one of those trendy, low-lit restaurants with exposed brick, vintage light fixtures, and overpriced wine. Lyanna and I had been here once, years ago. She called it pretentious but charming. Of course, now I knew she and Eric had made it their go-to escape. The host gave us a nod, assumed we had a reservation. We didn't. We didn't need one. They were already here. I spotted them immediately. Tucked into a corner booth, candlelight flickering between them, drinks already half full. Lyanna was laughing at something, the kind of laugh that made her shoulders bounce and her eyes close for a second. That laugh used to be mine. Eric had his hand on hers. That was the trigger. I didn't pause. I didn't hesitate. Amelia and I walked straight toward them like we owned the place. No theatrics, no hesitation. And then we were standing right there, right at their table. Lyanna looked up first. Her smile froze mid-laugh. She blinked. Once. Twice. Then color drained from her face so fast, I thought she might faint. Eric looked up next. He didn't even recognize me at first, but when he saw Amelia standing next to me, standing beside another man, his mouth dropped open. The hand on Lyanna's arm slowly, awkwardly, slid away. Hey there, I said, calm as ever. Hope we're not interrupting. Lyanna opened her mouth, but no sound came out. Amelia leaned forward just enough to make it personal. You really should have picked a place less public. Eric swallowed. Amelia, what are you doing here? She raised an eyebrow. Watching you lie to my face in real time, apparently. Mark, Lyanna finally managed, voice barely above a whisper. This isn't. Save it, I cut in. I've read the messages, every single one. From the elevator to the hotel to the out-of-office sinks. You're not talking your way out of this. Eric looked around, as if realizing people were starting to notice. The tables nearby had quieted. A few guests were openly staring now. One waitress froze mid-step. You're making a scene, he muttered, trying to control the damage. Amelia let out a sharp laugh. Oh, sweetheart, you haven't seen a scene yet. Lyanna's eyes darted to the exits like she was calculating escape routes. No one here knew you two were together, right? I said, gesturing vaguely at the room. Well, now they do. Eric started to stand, probably thinking he could power walk his way out of humiliation. But Amelia stepped in front of him. Sit, she said coldly. You've lied enough. Time to listen. He hesitated, then sat. Lyanna, trembling, whispered, Can we please talk about this at home? I leaned in, just close enough for her to feel it. We don't have a home, I said. That's when the dam broke. Her face crumpled not with guilt, not with shame, but with panic. The kind of panic you get when you realize the game is over and everyone's watching. Amelia crossed her arms, eyes locked on Eric. I gave you everything, years of loyalty, and this is how you repay me? Lying in public, laughing with someone else, playing the role of devoted husband while sneaking around like a coward? His face flushed, then paled again. He had nothing, because what do you say when every lie is already laid bare? Silence fell again, and then I said, loud enough for the entire row of tables to hear. To anyone wondering? Yes, this man has been sleeping with my wife, and yes, this woman has been sneaking out of our home to meet him in secret. So, enjoy your appetizers, folks. The special tonight is Betrayal. Gasps, a few awkward chuckles, a wine glass tipped and shattered somewhere behind us. Eric stood. Lyanna grabbed her purse. They bolted. Didn't say a word. Didn't look back. And Amelia and I, we stayed right there. Didn't follow. Didn't gloat. We just watched them disappear, two frauds running from the mess they created. No screaming. No police. No slaps across the face. Just truth. And humiliation. Served cold. The next morning, it all felt strangely quiet. Not peaceful. Not yet. Just still. Like the moment after a bomb's gone off. But before the dust starts to settle, Amelia and I met again, this time at my place. She brought coffee. I brought a laptop. There were no pleasantries. No small talk. We were past that now. We had work to do. We're not finished, she said, scrolling through her phone with surgical focus. Not even close. I nodded. They got embarrassment. Now they get consequence. Because here's the thing about people like Eric and Lyanna, they don't just care about love or lust. They care about perception, status, reputation. They build their lives on clean public images while doing damage in the dark. So we flipped on the lights. First step, documentation. I had screenshots of every message, timestamps, hotel reservations, a digital trail of lies, detailed down to the minute. Amelia added her own. Emails Eric had sent her claiming he was on business trips, while my wife's name was showing up on restaurant bookings, receipts, car service logs. All of it went into one neatly organized folder labeled Langford, Ellis, Private Conduct. I glanced at her. You're really calm about this. She gave a small shrug. I used to be a corporate litigator. I know what it takes to bury someone. And bury them we would. Eric worked at a firm called Langford, Morris Advisory, small boutique, big clients, and a rock-solid reputation for integrity, transparency, and fiduciary duty. They had an ethics policy so strict, they once fired a partner for attending a political fundraiser without approval. We didn't just email their general inbox. Amelia had contacts, former colleagues, people who owed her favors. Within an hour, we'd sent a package of documentation, no emotion, no commentary, just the facts. Subject, urgent, internal misconduct of senior partner Eric Langford. Body, please see attached records of ongoing personal misconduct involving a client's spouse, conducted during company hours and while representing your firm. Evidence includes time-stamped messages, hotel invoices, and verifiable communications. We believe this violates multiple points of your firm's ethical standards. Signed anonymously, but not vague. They would know exactly who sent it. Then it was my turn. Lena Ellis was vice president of outreach at San Diego Horizon, one of those polished, media-savvy nonprofits that host annual galas and get press coverage for giving out art scholarships. I pulled up their board of directors page. There she was, headshot, glowing, bio perfect, dedicated leader, passionate about family values and community trust. I almost laughed. Instead, I composed a second email. Subject: Immediate ethics concern. Vice President Lena Ellis. Body: To whom it may concern, the attached documentation may affect the public perception and internal conduct standards of your organization. As a vice president of a values-driven nonprofit, Ms. Ellis is engaged in sustained unethical conduct, including an extramarital relationship with a married public figure in violation of your stated mission and board code. Another anonymous drop. Attached: photos, texts, timelines. When I hit send, I didn't feel a rush. No fireworks, just something deeper, cleaner. Like I was scrubbing filth off a wall and finally seeing the original color underneath. Amelia closed her laptop and leaned back. Eric's firm doesn't just react to PR, they devour it. He's finished. I nodded slowly. Lena built her entire identity on image. School boards, donor brunches, being the model wife. This will level it. We sat in silence for a few moments, the air heavy with what we'd just done. Not out of guilt, out of finality. Think they'll fight back? I asked. Amelia smirked. They can't, because we didn't lie. And truth? It hits a lot harder than scandal. By nightfall, we had both heard the first ripples. Eric's name was pulled from the firm's homepage. His assistant posted a vague, out-of-office indefinitely message. Lena's face disappeared from Horizon's upcoming gala lineup. And that was just day one. We didn't break the rules. We just returned the favor. It didn't take long. By Monday morning, the cracks had turned into craters. Eric's firm Langford Morris went into full lockdown mode. Their website was a shell. No bios, no contact info, just a landing page with a generic disclaimer. Site under maintenance. Translation? They were panicking. Amelia forwarded me a screenshot from her old colleague. Internal memos flying around. Emergency ethics meetings. Client reps trying to calm the waters. One note simply read, "Any external inquiries regarding Eric Langford should be forwarded to legal." That told me everything. Eric wasn't just in trouble. He was radioactive. Meanwhile, back in the world of family values and PTA fundraisers, Lena's carefully polished life was starting to splinter. First came the school group chat. She was a parent volunteer at our daughter's school, used to run the spring gala, organize bake sales like a general commanding troops. That morning, the thread lit up like a dumpster fire. It started with one message. Has anyone else heard about what Lena did? 5 minutes later, is this about the affair? OMG, yes. I saw screenshots. With a married guy? Isn't her husband like one of the STEM mentors? Yeah, that'd be me. By 10 a.m., a PDF was circulating. Not from me, from someone else. Someone who apparently thought the school should know what kind of example was setting the tone for their children. Texts, names, dates. And there it was, Lena's private betrayal, now pinned like a scarlet letter on the same bulletin board where they used to praise her for organizing book fairs. She called me twice that day. I didn't answer, because the damage wasn't just social, it was professional. San Diego Horizon, the nonprofit where Lena served as vice president, issued a bland public statement about internal restructuring. A week ago, she was featured in a glossy donor newsletter. Now, she was erased from the website entirely. A friend of mine on the board texted me quietly, "I don't know what happened, man, but she's out. Whole thing blew up. And it's ugly." Good. Because Lena didn't just cheat on me. She built her life on the lie that she was better than everyone. Morally, socially, professionally. She curated a perfect image. And now, every single pixel of that facade was crumbling. Even the social media she once loved gone. Instagram? Deactivated. LinkedIn? Taking time for personal reflection. Parents stopped inviting her to events. Her charity circle silent. And Eric? Amelia told me his firm placed him on indefinite leave. The press hadn't touched it yet, but the clients had. One by one, they started pulling out. Rumors spread, words like conduct violations, inappropriate client relationships, fiduciary breach. His name used to open doors. Now it slammed them shut. I got a message that night from an old friend who had no idea I was even connected to this. "Bro, did you hear about that Langford guy? My cousin interned at his firm said it's a complete implosion. Wild stuff." Yeah, wild. It was like watching a house collapse in slow motion, one lie at a time, one exposed thread until the whole thing unraveled. And here's the part that surprised me most. I didn't feel triumphant. Not exactly. I felt still, like I was standing on a shoreline, watching two ships sink. I wasn't cheering. I wasn't throwing rocks. I was just watching, letting the sea take what it owed. It was a Wednesday when she showed up. I had just gotten home from work. Still had my keys in one hand and a grocery bag in the other when I heard the knock. Not a text. Not a call. A knock, timid, unsure. I opened the door, and there she was. Lena. Hair pulled back like she hadn't bothered to style it. No makeup, just jeans, a plain hoodie, and eyes that looked like they hadn't seen sleep in days. She stood there like a ghost, pale, cracked, unfamiliar. "Michael," she said, voice barely above a whisper. I didn't say anything. Didn't move. She tried to smile. Failed. Her lips trembled instead. "Can I come in?" I leaned against the doorframe. "Why?" She flinched. I need to explain. Please." I stared at her for a second, long enough to make her shift on her feet. Then I stepped back just enough to let her through. She walked in slow, like the house itself might collapse under her. I watched her scan the room, the same living room where we used to binge-watch Netflix and argue over who left the laundry in the dryer. Now it was just a crime scene, and she knew it. She turned back to me. "Michael, I know you're angry." "No," I cut in. "You don't know, and you don't get to frame this like it's a little bump. You didn't leave the stove on. You didn't forget to pick up milk. You blew up our marriage." She swallowed. Hard. "I made a mistake," she whispered. "You made months of mistakes," I said, my voice like steel. "You lied. Over and over, and you didn't stop until you were caught." "I didn't mean to hurt you," she said quickly. "But you did." She blinked. "I still love you." My jaw clenched. I exhaled through my nose. "No, you loved the life, the house, the image. You loved me as long as it didn't interfere with your fun." Her eyes welled. "That's not true. I didn't yell. I didn't throw anything. I just said it plainly. I've already filed. You'll hear from the lawyer by Friday." And with that, the floor fell out from under her. She sank onto the edge of the couch, the same couch we picked out together during a long weekend in Santa Monica. Her hands were shaking. "Please, Michael," she whispered. "Don't do this. Don't just walk away." I looked her dead in the eye. "You walked away first. I'm just finishing what you started." She sat there for a moment, then nodded, slowly, as if reality was finally catching up. She stood, walked past me, and paused at the door. She turned, lips trembling again. "I'm sorry." I said nothing. She left. I locked the door behind her, and I didn't look back. Meanwhile, across town, Eric Langford was unraveling even faster. Amelia kept me updated, not obsessively, just enough to paint the picture. His job? Gone. The board placed him on indefinite suspension, but that was PR speak. They knew they were cutting him loose. Amelia even heard they'd wiped his name from internal directories. His clients? Fleeing. Quietly, quickly, no calls. Just polite messages about restructuring budgets and delaying engagements. And the kicker? An internal audit. Someone, maybe a junior analyst, maybe a rival partner, decided to dig deeper, started pulling files, asking questions. Because men like Eric never fall over just one lie. They build their towers out of shortcuts. And when the light hits it just right, the whole thing starts to lean. I didn't gloat. I didn't need to. The same man who once bragged about owning every room was now drowning in silence. And me? I went to bed that night with peace for the first time in months. No more wondering. No more pretending. Just quiet. And clarity. 2 weeks after Lena walked out of my apartment for the last time, Amelia showed up with a manila envelope and a look I'd come to recognize. Focused. Calm. Dangerous. "We're not done," she said, dropping the envelope on my coffee table. Inside was everything. Not just screenshots and hotel receipts this time, but bank statements, redacted contracts, internal memos, a trail of quiet, questionable decisions Eric had made over the years. Turns out, Amelia had been digging, and she wasn't just finding dirt, she was unearthing rot. "This isn't about revenge anymore," she said. "It's about exposure. People like him don't just cheat on their spouses, they cut corners. They lie where it counts to clients, to colleagues, to regulators. And if we don't drag it into daylight, it never ends." She looked at me. "We give this to the press." I nodded. No hesitation. Because Eric Langford had built his whole identity on prestige and power. And now he was going to be exactly what he deserved, to be a cautionary tale. We didn't send it to a gossip blog. We went to the real players, investigative financial journalists, the kind who wore gray suits and wrote Pulitzer-winning exposes on corporate corruption. A friend of Amelia's had a contact at the San Francisco Ledger, a reputable paper with a long history of tearing apart men in ties who thought the rules didn't apply. The pitch was simple. Subject: ongoing fraud, misconduct, inside Langford, Morris advisory, attached evidence. Body: please review the enclosed documents outlining financial discrepancies and ethical violations involving senior partner Eric Langford. These actions, conducted over several years, suggest misuse of client funds, forged expense reports, and conflict of interest deals. All materials are time-stamped, sourced, and legally obtained. Attached was a full dossier, the kind of thing that didn't spark curiosity, it ignited investigation. We hit send and waited. 3 days later, it hit. The Ledger published a full feature, "Collapse of a Kingmaker Inside the Fall of Eric Langford." Front page. Pull quotes, bank scans, interviews with former clients and paralegals. It wasn't just gossip anymore. It was documented, confirmed, and very, very public. By the end of that week, Eric's name was scrubbed from every legal directory. His firm issued a formal statement distancing themselves, claiming they were shocked and saddened. The California bar opened an inquiry. Clients filed complaints. And one by one, those who used to sip wine with him at fundraisers now pretended they'd never known the guy. Amelia and I didn't celebrate. We just sat on my balcony with 2 drinks in silence, watching a city move on from a man who thought he was untouchable. "He's done," she said softly. I nodded. "He just doesn't know how quiet it gets after the fall." And then we toasted. Not to revenge, to justice. The divorce was finalized on a Tuesday. No courtroom drama, no screaming matches. Just a quiet filing, a few signatures, and a check passed between attorneys. 13 years reduced to paperwork and initials on a page. I didn't feel anger anymore. No bitterness. No heat in my chest. Just space. That night, I walked into what used to be our bedroom and found it bare. No framed photos, no lavender-scented candles, no signs of Lena. She had come back a week earlier to collect her things. We didn't speak. She didn't try. Just packed, avoided eye contact, and left with 2 boxes and a pale apology. She moved in with her sister in Arizona. Started going by her maiden name again. Word got around that she was taking time off to reflect, a polite phrase, the kind you use when someone's lost their job, their reputation, and whatever carefully curated life they used to lean on. I didn't follow her updates. I didn't need to. Lena was gone. And in her place, silence. But not the kind that stings. The kind that heals. I gave myself 3 days to sit in it, the stillness, the quiet, the raw sense of aftermath. Then I booked a ticket. 1 suitcase, 1 laptop, 1 camera. First stop, Portland. After that, maybe up through Canada, maybe east, through the mountains, maybe somewhere with no cell service and cheap coffee. No plan. Just forward. As I zipped the bag shut and looked around the apartment, I didn't feel the urge to take much. I left the wedding album on the top shelf of a closet, not out of sentiment, but because I didn't care enough to destroy it. Some things are just relics. Before I locked the door, I glanced out the window. The sky was soft and open, the street quiet. For the first time in a long time, I didn't feel like I was being watched, judged, betrayed. For the first time in a long time, I could breathe. Not that shallow, anxious breath I'd gotten used to, the kind that barely fills your lungs when you're living in denial, but real breath. Clean, steady. I stepped into the taxi. The driver asked where I was headed. I gave him the airport and leaned back, watching the buildings slip by, the cafes we used to love, the corners we used to cross, the city we used to think was ours. And I didn't flinch, because that life, it was over. And the one ahead, still blank, still quiet, but mine. As the plane lifted off, I stared out the window and smiled. Not because I'd won some twisted game of revenge, but because I'd finally let go of the weight that had been crushing me for months, for years maybe. I was free. I was whole. I was breathing again. And this time, I wasn't holding my breath for anyone.